Good morning. Welcome back to Open Mind School. The last session we have discussed about the various speech centers and introduction to the language areas. Today we'll be discussing a little more into finer aspects of speech, the Geschwind model, and how to evaluate a patient with a language disorder. In majority of the right-handed people, around 95%, speech center is on the left side. So this is Sylvian Fisher. This is the precentral gyrus, and the frontal lobe is divided into superior, middle, and inferior frontal convolutions. And here is the motor speech center. This, the temporal lobe in the superior temporal gyrus in the posterior part near the facial gyrus or the auditory cortex is the Wernicke's area. And these are connected via the Arcuate fasciculus. This is the basic model, the localization view of speech. And the supramarginal gyrus and the marginal gyrus, the visual cortex, etc. are also important in the integration of the language. We look into the various models of language. Initially it was described by Wernicke at the age of 26. That's the basic model that has been modified by Lichtheim. So in a simplified version, we can think that there is a area for the concept, and the motor part is there. There is a motor speech center, and there is a sensory speech center, and they are connected. This is the Broca's area, this is the Wernicke's area, and this is the concept. A disorder of the Broca's area leads on to Broca's aphasia. Wernicke's area, Wernicke's aphasia. This connection is gone, it produces the conduction aphasia. Watershed infarcts may isolate the speech centers. That will lead on to transcortical motor aphasia, transcortical sensory aphasia. The transcortical motor aphasia is similar to Broca's aphasia, except that they have got good repetition. And transcortical sensory aphasia is similar to Wernicke with fairly good repetition. So again, you should remember that the visual integration is there. This is the motor speech center. This is the sensory and visual integration. And this concept is explained here. So this is the transcortical motor. This is the transcortical sensory. When there is output is interfered, this produces dysarthria or disorders of articulation. The sensory input hearing is defective, it produces pure word deafness. This is the Lichtheim model. How will you approach a patient with a speech disorder? First and foremost, we will look at the fluency. Good fluency, poor fluency. If the fluency is good, it can be Wernicke's aphasia or conduction aphasia. When the fluency is decreased, it is Broca's aphasia dominantly. So again, remember the basic circuit. Anything that interferes with the Broca's, Wernicke and conduction, the Arcuate fasciculus will lead on to impaired repetition. So disorder of the Broca's area will lead on to lack of fluency. Disorder of Wernicke will lead on to lack of comprehension. So first is fluency. Second, we will be looking at what is the comprehension. So Broca's aphasia has got a good comprehension. Wernicke has got no comprehension. Conduction aphasia has got good comprehension. Next step is we look at the repetition. A normal person should be able to repeat a full sentence. If the patient cannot repeat full sentence, you can give a phrase. The phrase also cannot be repeated. You ask the patient to repeat a word. That is how you test it. So repetition is impaired when this basic circuit, there is a defect in this circuit. So Broca's, Wernicke, conduction aphasia, the repetition is impaired. That is in Broca's, Wernicke and conduction, the repetition is impaired. Repetition is preserved in the transcortical aphasias, transcortical motor and transcortical sensory aphasia. So basically you'll be looking for the fluency, comprehension, repetition, then you can look for reading and writing and naming. For reading you give a written things like raise your hand, close your eyes, look at the fan, etc. depending upon the clinical situation, and ask the patient to follow that. That is reading with the comprehension. Writing you ask the patient to write down their complaint. Naming, show an object and ask the patient to say the particular part of that object, like the cap of a pen. So basically to test aphasia it will take only 1, 2 or 3 minutes. If you cannot categorize into a particular type, you tell the findings. What is a fluency, what is a comprehension, what is a repetition, what is a reading, writing and naming. Reading and writing are impaired to the extent to which other parts of the language are affected. Hope this point is clear. And the most common cause of aphasia is stroke, tumors or trauma, and other brain disorders also can lead on to aphasia. Recovery depends upon the type of lesion and therapy, speech therapy is beneficial. Today we have discussed about the Lichtheim-Geschwind Wernicke model of speech and how to examine a patient with a speech disorder. Stay tuned.